What's up, everyone? Jordan Bates here, coming to you from the Earth planet, the Milky Way, galaxy, in the cosmos, in the multiverse, in the multidimensional matrix of form in which we find ourselves, nestled within the infinitude of absolute reality. All glory due to God, to all that is, the Creator. Sending a lot of love to you guys, and today just wanted to speak a little bit about meditation. To me, at this point, life increasingly seems to be an endless meditation. It's like I just naturally find myself wakefully observing everything that arises in my field of consciousness, everything that arises in the field of awareness. And I just largely observe all of this with an attitude from a vantage point of completely allowing everything to be as it is. The meditative state could be distilled down to just abiding in a state of purely allowing everything to be as it is. When you are completely friends with what is, when you do not resist what is at all, when you completely 100% accept and surrender to what is, that is really the path beyond suffering in life. It's a good way to summarize the path of liberation, or the state of liberation is basically complete acceptance of what is, total surrender to what is, completely allowing what is, completely trusting what is, trusting that life only gives you exactly what you need at the time. This is a powerful spiritual practice to me, is to start to look for the gift in everything. Really ask yourself, maybe the situation looks like bad or wrong from a certain vantage point, but what is the gift here? What is this teaching me? What is this potentially unlocking for me? What is this pointing toward? Yeah, so to me, I just increasingly find myself in a state of very deep allowing reality to be precisely as it is, not needing reality to be a certain way, not needing my mental stories about reality to be true, because I increasingly know that they're not true. I increasingly see that no mental story can come close to containing reality. All mental stories are mere shadows of unfathomable, unpin-downable, labyrinthine, extraordinary reality. And of course, the mind can tell very beautiful stories about reality. There's nothing wrong with mental stories. It's just that they're not true. It does cause a tremendous amount of suffering when we believe our mental stories, when we overattach to our mental stories. That's when we begin to suffer a lot ourselves, and that's when we become willing to inflict suffering upon others or inflict violence upon others, because we have chosen to believe our mental stories or believe our thoughts. We become so attached to our own fictitious stories and interpretations of reality that we have lost touch with reality as it is. We've become insane in a certain sense, because we've ceased to realize that in truth there is no separation between us and anyone else in reality. So anything that we do to someone else, we're actually doing to ourselves. Yeah, and that's why on the deepest level there are no enemies. There is only you in many, many different disguises. There is only the one reality, the one pure beingness of all that is, adopting many different costumes, many different disguises, and kind of playing this divine game of hide and seek with itself. There are no enemies. As I was meditating last night, just doing some sitting meditation on a bench while I was rollerblading, I was just allowing and letting the story of Jordan Bates to just fall away. Just allowing, seeing that Jordan Bates is just another thought and story in the mind. And that when I just let the mind go, when I let all the stories go, I come into a state of pure awareness where there's nothing at that point except reality watching reality, reality seeing reality, reality just being this infinite field of pure awareness, pure presence, pure stillness, unmovable, undisturbable, imperturbable silence and presence. And the peace of that space, that field, is really, it is a peace beyond description, as they say. And it's just, it's such a cosmic joke that that this reality is actually all that there is. It's staring us in the face in every moment. There is only imperturbable, undisturbed liberation at all places, at all times. Consciousness is already enlightened, as the proverb goes. And we have basically chosen to play a game of forgetting that this is the case. We've chosen to play a game of believing our thoughts, believing our projections, believing our interpretations of reality, believing that these are true. And this is what creates suffering for us, because as soon as we believe a thought that says X or Y is good, we automatically create bad at the same time. The two are mutually arising. You can't have something good without the contrasting bad. So then as soon as you call one part of reality good, on a mental level, you create a whole lot of other aspects of reality or situations that are then bad. You call one thing right, you create a lot of other scenarios and situations and circumstances that are then wrong. And then you get angry about what is wrong. You get upset, you get disturbed, you get uncomfortable. You say, this is wrong, this is bad, this shouldn't be this way. My God, there's a pandemic, there's climate change, there's an epidemic of suicide, it's a crisis, these are crises, this is terrible, it's an emergency, these are problems. But this is all actually coming from a place of mental stories that are not true. Anything you can put into words, anything you can think on a mental level is not true. It's a dualistic compression and massive reduction of reality down to a level of words and stories. When you drop all the words and stories, then you see through a different type of vision. You see through what you might call the perspective of God, or the perspective of the absolute. And from that perspective, there are no emergencies, there are no tragedies, there are no crises, there are no problems. Reality simply is as it is. And it is seen that our essence is actually completely beyond death, completely beyond harm. Nothing in truth ever actually dies. What appears to us as death is just another movement in the world of form, another shifting of light and color as the world of form changes into a different shape, which is what it constantly does. The world of form is an endless kaleidoscopic shifting of light and color into new shapes. And that's completely okay. It's completely okay that everything constantly changes in the world of form. And yet, when you're completely identified with form, it's very frightening. When you're not connected to the absolute, the essence that underlies the world of form, when you have not noticed that there is an infinite field of pure awareness, pure, deathless, birthless, uncreated, undestroyed awareness that is literally infinite and eternal and beyond death, that is your true nature, that you can literally discover when you go deep inside yourself and you drop all identity, all stories, all beliefs, and you find this space of pure deathless awareness. That's freedom, because you see, oh, wow, I'm not Jordan Bates. I'm not this body-mind structure that is temporarily appearing for a brief blip on the radar in the world of form. I'm actually all of this. I'm all that is, and not only the entire phenomenal world, the ever-shifting dance of phenomena, but I am the formless wellspring of pure potential. I am the formless oceanic no-thingness out of which all things arise. I am that imperturbable, undisturbed space, that field of pure awareness, pure consciousness that is simply divine light. No word can contain it. All words, God, Oversoul, Absolute, they're all just pointers pointing at the unsayable moon of our true nature, which is utterly, utterly beyond description, is the most precious and beautiful thing imaginable. It's beyond the comprehension of the mind. It's something that has to be seen directly, experienced directly, even though it's in a way actually beyond experience, because all experience, anything you can experience, is taking place within the world of form, but our true nature is actually beyond the world of form. It's something that intuits itself. It's something that sees itself as this space of pure presence in which everything is arising and falling away, this space of pure awareness. It's like invisible air, but you see it and sense it in states of deep meditation, or, at different times people spontaneously see it and sense it. Suddenly it's like a veil is lifted and there's nothing but peace and light reflecting through everything. When people have near-death experiences, they often come into contact with God, with absolute reality. So, yeah, just wanted to talk a bit about that. It's truly been the greatest gift of my life to learn how to see this reality, to see that most fundamentally things simply are as they are at all times, to enter a space of pure neutrality, pure allowing, where I just allow everything to be as it is, where I see that, as Rumi said, beyond right and wrong, there's a meadow. I'll meet you there. When the body lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. He was pointing at this space. He was pointing at the kingdom of heaven that Jesus talked about, the kingdom of heaven that is within all of us, that is beyond the mind and its dualistic projections. The mind creates heaven and hell. and that can be tricky, because I know I just said the kingdom of heaven is within you, but there's different levels to this. So heaven can be used as a pointer to point at the state of unity consciousness that is beyond duality, or there can be the mental level of heaven, where when you tell a mental story about heaven and you believe that mental story, you automatically then create hell. When you tell a story about good, you create a story about bad, and if you believe the stories, then you're caught in a dualistic mental world of heaven and hell. But there is a heaven that is beyond all duality, beyond all words. There is just a space of pure peace that occurs when you stop believing your thoughts, when you stop believing the stories you tell yourself about reality. in a way, it's a state of not knowing. You drop all knowing on a mental level, and this opens up a space of deeper knowing, a space of direct seeing, a space of pure consciousness and witnessing. Anyway, this stuff is difficult to talk about and describe. It's a bit like attempting to translate a foreign language if you haven't had experiences of dropping all identity and seeing reality without the veil of identity, without the veil of egoic, fear-based stories and dualistic projections. But it's fun to try to talk about, and it's worth, I think it's one of the most worthwhile things to talk about, because it is ultimately, there are infinite tributaries that lead to the same ocean, but it is the pathless path beyond suffering in this world. Near as I can tell, as long as you are identified with your mental stories, it doesn't matter what's going on in the outside world, you're going to suffer because you're living in a world of good and bad, a world of right and wrong, where you see some things as undesirable, bad, wrong. You're fighting with what is. Any time that you're making part of reality wrong or bad, or you're saying, that's evil, that's not me, I blame that, that's the bad part, you're actually hating and judging part of yourself, because that is also you. There is no separation. There is only the one unified field of consciousness in which all forms are arising and falling away. So, as long as you believe your thoughts, as long as you believe your beliefs, your stories, your judgments about reality, you will suffer. And that's okay. We've chosen to play this game. We've chosen to play this game of forgetfulness and experiencing the suffering of forgetfulness. However, it is possible to begin to remember in this lifetime, to remember what we truly are, and remembering what we truly are is the beginning of waking up from the dream of suffering, the dream of total identification with samsara, with the mental stories we tell ourselves about this world of form. And as you increasingly drop these stories, you increasingly become, again, like a child who's just dissolved all conditioning. All conditioning has been dropped, and one once again returns to a state of just seeing the world as a pure kaleidoscopic dance of light and color that is without any interpretations, without any stories layered onto it. It just is this most kaleidoscopic, miraculous play of light and color and shadow. Except when an infant is in that state, you see the light of pure consciousness shining through their eyes, but they themselves are not aware of pure consciousness. They just are pure consciousness. Whereas when you then discover pure consciousness at a later stage, you can actually be aware that you are pure consciousness. So this opens up a new kind of dimension of the wonder. It opens up the kind of cosmic joke of seeing that you had created all this suffering in your life by believing your thoughts, believing your stories, but that actually the entire time there was nothing to do, there was no one to be, there was nowhere to go. Everything was already whole and perfect in every moment, and it was just always staring you in the face. And then at that point, you just have to have a laugh. You have to have a chuckle about it, because it's damn funny. And then at that point, you just play whatever game your soul wishes to play. There's a lot of beautiful games to play on this earth. I enjoy the game of playfully liberating my consciousness, beginning with myself and moving outward from there. Ultimately, all consciousness is my consciousness. There is only the one consciousness. So, yeah. Anyway, those are a few fingers pointing at an unsayable moon. Hopefully some of you find something here useful. And if not, then that's also cool. Sending love. Sending love to everyone. all beings, all forms, all expressions of the one consciousness. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being you. Peace and love.